It's the Jack and Joe show with Joe Sansom, and today we are saying Mill.
We certainly are. I said it twice last night.
Yeah,
We weren't saying it last week, but well done, Millwall, and another big helping hand. It feels like since last time we've spoken, Jack, we've got even more positive.
I know. Not coronavirus, just
No,
in life.
just in a general sense, yeah.
So the situation is this: Fulham beat Hull by 1-0 on Saturday. Bournemouth did win against Blackpool, despite being second best, in my opinion, for the whole game. West Brom drew to Blackburn Rovers, and last night, amongst two other Championship games, QPR losing away at Millwall, and of course I mentioned QPR lost to Barnsley as well. So that's two losses in a row now for QPR. So we're going to touch on Hull. We're going to look ahead to Huddersfield, but first we're going to actually no. Let's start with Hull.
Yeah.
31 goals from Mitro. Good day.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like you had another fantastic day in Hull, Jack, to add to your collection. But let's face it, scrappy win. But who cares? You need to win games like that if you're going to get promotion. Felt to me, from watching the 90 minutes back, quite similar to the Peterborough game, but with slightly more control. I felt like Peterborough actually caused us more problems than Hull did on the day. But yeah, an important win. Another clean sheet, which is really important after we were faltering slightly defensively a couple of weeks ago. That seems to be eased any of those worries. And we looked solid again. And yeah, Mitrovic again will get the headlines. Again, he's close now. He's leveled the record. He's close to breaking it. He could get 40, Jack, easily. Let's face it, only 9 more to go. Feels crazy saying only 9, but for him, that's basically just 3 games, isn't it? 3 hat tricks, and we're laughing. But yeah, tell me about the day, Jack. It was a big win. We don't want to touch on it too much, but I feel like this was one where it's just like, okay, tick, on to the next one, another 3 points.
No, it was good. It was a good day out. I was on the podcast on Sunday, so I had the pleasure to talk through it with all the guys, Dom, Dan, and Sammy. But in terms of the actual day, probably the drunkest I've been at a game all season. I was mixing drinks like there was no tomorrow. So very good. Lots of beer, sours, and a drink called Tika, which was a pineapple.
Like Tiki Taka when Fulham turned up.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't quite on that
maybe
pitch,
not.
was it?
Yeah.
And then I had a passion fruit martini on the way to the ground as well. So, I mean, I really was going for it for no reason. Chips were decent, not great. Should have got the better scran, but was too drunk to remember what was going on. And the pie was poor, which I mentioned on the pod. Apart from that, good goal. Needed a goal from that sort of area. Needed a goal coming off the ground, basically, across, because the pitch just wasn't playing to our style at all. Good luck, Hull, dealing with that pitch for the rest of the season. It's an absolute nightmare to play on. They drew last night to Sheffield United. They'll be fine. I don't think they're going to go down, given what's going on. Reading playing Peterborough tonight. Huge game in the
Peterborough
Championship.
can go out the bottom 3, if they
win. Yeah. And I'd back them to win that, honestly. I don't think Reading... Yeah, they've got Yaku Mete back. They've got Lucas Yao, John Swift. They've got some good players, but I don't think Reading are in the best place right now, especially since we beat them 7-0. They've been awful. But Hull was good. Like you said, it's basically a tick and we move on. Good win. Yeah. Really, 1-0 wins, like I tweeted, are the most satisfying wins you'll get, considering we didn't play amazingly as well. But we're coming up against a Huddersfield side that are unbeaten in, was it 13?
Yeah, 14 all comps, yeah.
A very unimpressive unbeaten run, I must say. A lot of draws in there. A couple of decent wins. How do you see this one going? Do you remember last time we played them? We were 3 up and then Emil Smith-Rowe scored and they made it 3-2 and then we managed to see it out under Scotty P.
Scotty P, masterclass again. That was such a weird game because for the first 30 minutes we played so well in that one, and then for the last 60 we were just utter dross. We were just terrible. Rodak just saved us about 20 times. Yes. It's a weird one because when we played them earlier in the season, we absolutely battered them, and that was with 10 men for the last 20 or so minutes as well. We've got a few players that I really like. I like Levi Colwill, who's on loan from Chelsea, as one of their 3 central defenders. He looks really promising, really young player. I also really like Lewis O'Brien, who has some interest from a lot of clubs and has done for a long time.
Bournemouth, I saw.
Bournemouth, yeah, obviously getting ready for their. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Huddersfield, as you say, in that run, there's been a lot of dull games, but they're getting the job done, at least getting points when they're maybe not at their best. I watched their game against Stoke a couple of weeks ago. Don't talk about the refereeing decision that changed the game, but they were solid for the most part, and that was against the Stoke side that we played just previously to that and had a really tough game against. So I'm expecting a game where they're probably going to come and they've got to try and play it slightly differently than they did in August, when it turned into a bit of a basketball game, a bit like end-to-end at times. You can't play like that against us, and I feel like that laid the groundwork for that. They need to come and basically stink up the place, in my opinion, to get something from this game. And looking at their recent results, they are capable of doing it. But I really think it's as simple as, if we score first, and if that goal comes in the first half, I would hope for another comfortable early afternoon.
Yeah, it's the early kickoff, isn't it? 12:30. What I've noticed about Huddersfield recently is their defensive record has been pretty decent. And that does worry me, because when sometimes we can struggle to break teams down, I remember Millwall, actually played really well for the first half an hour, and it took a good cross from Nico and a little deflection for Mitrovic to slam home, and then the game basically got away from them once we made it 2-0. So, like you said, early goal is imperative. Bournemouth play Nottingham Forest on the Friday night, so we're going to know a lot about what sort of gap we could or maybe have. If Bournemouth win, they're going to be 3 points behind us, and suddenly the pressure's on us. But right now I'm thinking about the gap between first and third at the moment, which is making me quite giddy, making a lot of fans quite giddy. We'll get onto it in a second. Let's get your team for Huddersfield Town.
Well, I feel like it's one of those where, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I feel like I said this last time, and we ended up getting the team bang on. I think we both said that we'd go unchanged, and I'd go unchanged again. I've been impressed with Mr. Natty Chabs once again, just patrolling in front of the defence, just making it look very easy. And then I think he grabbed his crotch in front of the whole fans. Just fantastic value.
Did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, in that video where
brilliant.
Well,
like the Simeone sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of like that. So it's obviously better than Simeone. There's Natty Chabs, but yeah, I'd probably go unchanged. One thing I'm really interested by is when Tete is back fit, and I don't know if that will be. We haven't had the press conference yet. That will probably come out tomorrow at the time of filming Marco Silva's presser pre Huddersfield. But when Tete's back fit, Nico Williams has done very well so far. I don't think Tete gets his place back, as we spoke about last week. But what would be interesting is the fact that Nico Williams can play as left back. And if you're going to have both of them in the team, I wonder if there's something there. But Robinson did fine on the weekend, in my opinion. And I'd go unchanged. But what about you?
Yeah, I think we were seeing Natty Chabs' praises on the podcast. Harrison Reed has got to do a lot of work to try and get back into that team. And I think right now, Natty Chabs is in a place where he's taking that midfield position as his own, and he's actually taking control of it with TC. Like I said last week, I always get comfort when I see Harrison Reed on the team sheet, but maybe I need to alter that sort of mentality and go, look, even if Reed's not playing, we've got excellent cover in TC and Natty Chabs. And John Mikel Seri hasn't even... when was the last time he played against Man City? And that was the last time he set foot on a pitch. And obviously I want him to play. But again, you can't change a winning formula. I'd stick with Natty Chabs. I mean, if I had to make one change, I'd maybe stick in Harrison Reed for TC, maybe, and give him TC a bit of a rest. But again, you don't need to change it. It's just due to the fact that it's nice to get everyone on the pitch at some point. But if they make 30-minute, 20-minute cameos in a win, what's there to complain about? There's nothing bad about that. So I'm pretty confident that we can stick to an unchanged team, Joe. And should we get a score prediction before we get into the real nitty-gritty of the Sky Bet?
Let's do it. I mean, I think we will win. I do. I think it'll be a tough game. I think we'll win 2-0 this one. And the thing is, if you look at the table, Huddersfield are in 5th as it stands. They played 2 games more than us, so they're on 50 points. If you think about how good a season Blackburn are having, they've played the same amount of games as Huddersfield, and they're only 4 points ahead of them. So I think it goes to show that they've really turned it around since we hammered them basically 5-1. So I'm expecting a tough game, but I am backing Fulham at the moment. And to be honest, to beat any side, and until someone proves that wrong, I'm going to keep backing us. So 2-0 Fulham, I think.
Yeah, good shout. Actually, I was going to echo 2-0. I actually had Huddersfield to go down in our predictions, alongside Preston and Derby. And obviously Preston have turned things around under Ryan Lowe. And I thought after 5-1 Huddersfield, when we beat, I was like, oh, this is coming in. Huddersfield are definitely going down. And they've turned it around and they're actually a decent outfit now and obviously looking to get into the playoffs. I think they are the weakest team out of the batch around the playoffs, even like a Luton Town. I think they're stronger. Sheffield United, Middlesbrough, West Brom, all that lot. So, yeah, I'm going to say 2-0 as well. I think clean sheet, 3rd in a row will be very important. And then we obviously have Peterborough on next Wednesday. So perhaps we'll speak on Monday and we'll preview that. And then we'll talk Thursday or depending on what happens, you never know. But let's get into what we really wanted to talk about in the video. And that was the state of the championship. And we're in a position now where I think one win, regardless of what happens at the weekend, puts us on 67 points. And there's like a 15-point gap, even before QPR play. And obviously we will have that gap if we win because we're the early kickoff. So tell me your thoughts. Are we getting too excited too early? And can a lot change? And what's your thoughts?
No, I don't think we're getting excited too early, but obviously there's a long way to go. But the fact that if we won our games in hand, we would just be an unbelievable gap ahead of the rest. We're already far ahead. I'm looking at it now. If we were to win our game in hand over QPR, then we would be, 15 points ahead. If we were to win our 2 games in hand over Blackburn, then we would be, oh my goodness, I think like 16 points ahead of them. It's just unbelievable. And it's one of those where it can easily change. The gap over Bournemouth is something that I almost subconsciously look at because they're the next challengers. But in all seriousness, it doesn't really matter how far Bournemouth are behind us. It's all about 3rd place. 1st and 2nd, title's great. I want the title. Everyone does. And I would be disappointed if we didn't get it. But let's face it, 1st and 2nd get the same prize. So the fact that Blackburn and QPR have both had a rocky few weeks, added to the fact that Forest, Middlesbrough and some of the sides below them, including Huddersfield, to be fair, have done slightly better. I think for them, it changes their mentality entirely. And it goes from we're chasing the top 2 mentality to we're clinging on to our place in the playoffs because let's face it, that's the expectation for some of these sides. It's not top 2. Blackburn weren't fancy for top 2. QPR maybe an outside bet, but it was more of a playoff chase for them at the start of the season. Bournemouth have a tough few games coming up, and they're not out of the woods yet in terms of the playoffs. But I feel like if we can get that win on Saturday, put even more daylight between us. The teams around us have some tough games as well. We've got a nice run now. Including this game, like this is probably our toughest game, but including this one, it's a nicer run. And this is really the time to build up an even bigger margin.
And you forget that obviously the goal difference is almost like an extra point as well. I mean, that is unbelievable. The thing about Bournemouth is, we were talking about it last week, they have a tricky run of fixtures. They're in the midst of a tricky run of fixtures, and they got through the Blackpool game just about with a win in the last minute. And they play a Forest team on Friday night who sits 7th, and obviously will be gagging to get into the playoffs. I didn't actually realise that Huddersfield were 5th, so they obviously are. Sheffield United last night missed a huge opportunity to go into the playoffs, or at least be on the same points as Middlesbrough with a 0-0 draw against Hull. Didn't realise the conclusion of that game. Obviously, they're going to feel very frustrated that they didn't get the points. But let's talk about Fulham. We're in a position now where you're starting to look at the fixtures and go, well, how many wins until we can probably say it's done? And I would have to say about 6 or 7 maybe. And we've got 16 games to go. And I keep banging this drum. I've told everyone that I've meet, basically, is if we win every game up until the next international break, we'll be on something like 88 points. Which, by the way, is done. Like I'd say that's finished, unless we have a horrendous run after the international break. So yeah, I'm getting very giddy, very excited. I'm starting to be like, I wonder if the board are looking towards the future already. This could be a horrible, horrible take, and like this could bite us in the bum so badly. But we are in a position right now where we're how many points? We're 10 points clear of Blackburn, 12 of QPR, with a game in hand over both, 2 games in hand over Blackburn. It's the Middlesbrough away game and the Swansea away games that are those games in hand.
Yeah.
They're the ones, right? So obviously Swansea comes up 8th of March and something like the 5th of April or something for Middlesbrough away.
Yeah, Borough's between QPR and Coventry. And I think one thing to just say is now,
sure,
this might age terribly, but as of right now, it's mathematically possible and plausible for us to get promoted at Loftus Road.
Yes, that's what everyone keeps saying. Yeah,
thinking about. Yeah, so like that's gone from being like, oh yeah, that could happen if we won every game between now and then, and QPR lost like an unbelievable amount of games. They've lost a few, we've won a few, and now it's changed and it's actually plausible. So that would just be unbelievable.
I'm not the best at maths, but every week after a result, after a game week in the Championship, I'm going to start getting out the calculators and start working out when it could be possible.
Get the abacus out. Yeah.
Mate, it's very exciting. Obviously, I want to win the league. And if we're in a position where, I mean, the ideal scenario is we confirm promotion at the Kind Prince Foundation Stadium, and then we win the title at the Vitality against Scott Parker's Bournemouth. Which, by the way, are you going to try and get a ticket for? Because that's going to be a mad scramble.
Without a doubt. Although I feel like every single Fulham fan will be, obviously. And the only thing that I can think of that would be one better is if we were to win the title before the Vitality, which I don't know if is even realistic, just so we can get a lovely Guard of Honour from Matt Wells, Scott Parker, Rob Birch, etc.
Could you imagine the look on their faces and they have to clap us out? I mean, it'd be like, I don't even, be like the biggest humble pie ever eaten by anyone ever would be Scott Parker and Matt Wells.
Yeah.
We'll probably leave it there. Is there anything else to add? Because there's a load of permutations about what could happen and how many points we need and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, nothing else really. I just feel like if you're ever going to get ahead of yourself, it's now. You know, it might age terribly, but you know, the way we're playing, I don't see why you shouldn't be looking at things like this and almost like dreaming of the best possible scenarios, because it's just been so good recently. It's like, you know, what's the most negative result that we've had for a while? It was a draw against Blackpool. It's just not even that bad. We could have won that on another day.
The circumstances of that day was,
and obviously the circumstances take, you know, you have to take that into the equation. It was sadly a freak day. And it's one of those where Man City in the Cup, yes, the result wasn't great. We held our own, and it just makes you even more positive. Yeah, nothing else to add, really. I mean, this all goes out the window if we don't beat Huddersfield. But the way we're playing at the moment, why shouldn't we beat Huddersfield?
Can we just do something really fun before we go? I'd like to hear your top 6 in order of how it finishes and the 3 that go down. We haven't done that in a while.
Right. No, interesting. Okay. I'm getting the table up right now because the 3 that go down, I think, is a bit simpler, with no offence to the teams. But I think it is going to be Barnsley, Peterborough and Reading. I think Derby are going to do it. I really do. And as you say, I wouldn't be surprised if Peterborough got a result against Reading tonight. And then top 6, from top to bottom, I'm backing us to win the league.
Yes.
I am going with Bournemouth second because I just think that will happen. But the next bit's really tough. But you know what? I'm going to go with Middlesbrough third. I'm going to go with Forest fourth. I'm going to go with Blackburn fifth and QPR sixth. I think that'll be the 6.
So Sheffield United miss out.
Sheffield United missing out. Yeah, they've had 2 chances last couple of weeks to close that gap, and they've had games in hand, and they haven't done it. 2-0 draws. So
you've gone with. So who's your players again?
So us and Bournemouth, and then Borough, Forest, both in great form, and then Blackburn and QPR to hang on in there. So
QPR v Borough, and then
Forest versus Blackburn. Yeah.
Mine's slightly. I'm going to go the same 3 to go down. I think Derby will
Yeah.
do it because obviously I just love Wayne Rooney. I want him to obviously succeed. And I go Fulham, Bournemouth, and then I'm going to go Middlesbrough, Sheffield United. Oh my God, hold on. Middlesbrough, Forest, QPR, 6th, Luton.
Fantastic.
Big
That would
shout.
be good. That'd be good.
Big shout for
I
Luton.
would like to see Luton in the playoffs.
They're only 4 points off.
Yeah.
I don't think West Brom get there. And we've both predicted West Brom not to get there.
I don't think they get there. And as I say, Blackburn and QPR, I feel like the form they're in at the moment, they're really hanging on. But Borough in great form. I think they can catch and challenge, maybe even challenge a late push for top 2 if they don't fall too far behind. I think that's what I'll go with.
Finally, who wins the playoffs then?
Who wins the playoffs? Oh, it's tough. Borough, Chris Wilder.
I say
that's what I'm going with.
Could you imagine? Borough Forest final would be very good.
That'd be fantastic. Fantastic.
Joe, we've both got things to do today, so we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Good luck for Fulham on Saturday. And we'll see you on Monday to preview Peterborough. Joe, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching.
Take care, everyone, and come on, Fulham.